Hello, everybody. This is Teresa Carpenter, and welcome to Stories of Service, Ordinary People Who Do Extraordinary Work. I'm your host, Teresa Carpenter, and this is our fourth episode. So 4 down and hopefully many more to go. If you're watching us on YouTube, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Definitely would like for you guys to catch some of the upcoming broadcasts. And today, sitting right next to me, I have a very, very special guest. I am so excited that he came to do this podcast with us today. His name is Master Sgt. Amaurys Rapozo-Meran. He goes by Rap, and he is here in El Salvador with me. So this is a very special podcast episode. I met Rap just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was so impressed by him. He is the Humanitarian Assistance Program Manager. He's also the Senior Commissioned Officer for the Security Cooperation Office here in El Salvador. So he goes around and does all the Humanitarian Assistance Program donations. And it's a big job. A lot of people do it, not just him, but there's a contracting involved, vendors involved. And it's really designed to provide safety, security, and stability and sustainability for the people of El Salvador. So it's an amazing program. You guys may have been seeing some of the pictures I've been posting about it. It's just such an honor to do that. But that is the background on the Humanitarian Assistance Program. But really what I want to do is just talk to Rap here about some of his background. And I first just have to give a little bit of background on him. He joined the Army in January 2002. He was awarded the Military Occupational Specialty, Airborne Infantry. He has served as a rifleman, fire team leader, squad leader. He's been a drill sergeant. As I was saying in the bio, he's done combat deployments, 4 deployments in Operation Iraqi Freedom I, II, III, and V, and a combat deployment in Operation Enduring Freedom. And then if that wasn't enough, he's got a master's from American Military University in government contracting, which is really good for the Humanitarian Assistance Program. And he holds a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone.
Glad you could be here. So what I really want to start off by asking you is, what made you decide to join the Army?
So I was going through my teenage years where, you kind of want to be a rebel. And I was not getting along with my father, let's put it that way. So I decided that I needed to find a way to get out of the house. So shamefully, I wish I could tell like a cooler story, but that was the primary reason. And although it wasn't probably because of some, stronger purpose of joining the Army, I am glad that I made that decision.
And I think that's a lot with a lot of young people. I mean, I've said something similar myself, that I joined the Navy to kind of get out of my hometown and see the world. And then once I got in, it was like, oh my gosh, this is such an amazing opportunity. Now, where are you originally from?
I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic. And at the age of 17, I think it was like 1999. That's when we got our green card. And then we moved to Puerto Rico. Rico. And I went there. I went to college there for about a year, and then that's when I had the opportunity to join the Army, and so I did.
So you joined the Army out of Puerto Rico?
Out of Puerto Rico, yes.
Okay. Was that an easy process to join? I don't think a lot of people understand that there are other parts of the United States that you can join the Army out of.
Well, it wasn't really a difficult process. I think I went through the process that everybody goes to, where you go and talk to a recruiter, take the ASVAB test, and if you pass, well, then you continue on to the process of going to basic training, and then from there get an assignment with your unit. Yeah. Like the primary difference, I said that because it's a Spanish-speaking country, you do have to go to Lacan Air Force Base, where you go to English as a second language school, and then from there you got to take a couple of classes, then take a test. And if you pass that test, that's when they send you to basic training. Okay.
All right. And so you go off to boot camp, and then after boot camp, what happens?
So I guess I should tell this story, but like I went to Puerto Rico on leave because I graduated. My family didn't.
Oh, hello from Puerto Rico.
Oh,
There's somebody on there.
So I went back to Puerto Rico, Bayamón, Puerto Rico, para state. And basic training was tough for me because I didn't know the language. So like most of what I did was what pretty much monkey see, monkey do, whatever all of the other trainees were doing.
Oh my God, you didn't know the language while you were there?
No, like I remember a lot of drill sergeants yelling at me. And most of the times I just look at them like, okay, I have no clue what he's saying.
No.
Well, let me do what the guy over here is doing.
Right.
I did understand the basic stuff such as, hey, do push-ups. And,
sure.
I got that, the whole punishing command. So I went back to Puerto Rico and I was just like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? For in the Army, I had a really tough time.
Yeah.
But I was assigned to Fort Bragg, North Carolina with the 82nd Airborne Division. And after I took 10 days leave, I reported to my unit, and then I went there. I was assigned to the 2nd Battalion, 325th Airborne Infantry Regiment. And I showed up to my unit. We trained for like a year, and that's when Operation Iraqi Freedom kicked in.
Wow, so it was right away. It wasn't like this thing where you'd been in the Army for some time. It was like right after basic training.
Correct. Pretty much like I went to Lacan Air Force Base for about 2 months for English school, and then went on leave, reported to my unit. We went to NTC, I believe, and like within 5 or 6 months after being in my unit, then we got deployed.
Okay, and so then what did you do on that deployment? What was your primary duties, your day-to-day?
So back then I was technically a rifleman, but my main position was what we call in the infantry an ammo barrel. So all I did was carrying most of the ammo, the ammunition for the M240 machine gun.
Wow.
Yeah. So I carried that in my own stuff.
Oh my God. How long were you deployed there for?
The first deployment, I think it was like 11 months. So it was, before President Bush declared war, we were already staged at it was somewhere in Saudi Arabia. And then, we had no TV. It was just like we're living on some tent. There was a lot of sandstorms. And we found out that President Bush declared war when we heard all of the airplanes taking off from that base to go bomb Iraq. So,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. So was it more just because the news and things like that just didn't kind of filter down to you guys?
We just didn't have TV or anything.
Right.
We're just living on some tent, and I just remember that there was a lot of sandstorms.
Wow. So overall, what was that deployment like for you? Those 11 months? How would you if you had to summarize that deployment, or if you could?
It was life-changing because you're used to having all of these commodities, if you want to call it. If you get thirsty, you go drink water. If you get tired, you just rest on your bed. But we were pretty much just moving from one place to another, fighting, then stay overnight, then keep on going. And we started from south of Iraq all the way to the capital, Baghdad. And we went through a lot of stuff, many firefights, many hardships. And when we came back, or while we were there, you get to miss just something simple, like just having a spoon to being able to eat your food, or a lot of commodities, your bed, being able to have the freedom to do whatever you want. And it was very limited. And overall, it made me appreciate a lot of things out of the civilian life.
So I say, I think a lot of people take a lot of that for granted because we all think that we just have those things, and then they have all that taken away. I think is very, very life-changing. So you do this 11 months and you see some pretty hard stuff, and it's stressful. And how old were you at the time?
I was 19 years old, and I only describe the I guess the regular day-to-day life aspect, but like as it relates to combat, yes, we did see a lot of stuff. Like my first firefight, we went to this town called Ashamawa, I think it was. It's south of Iraq, and the very first night that we get there, we set up a patrol base. Pretty much, we just formed like a circle. We have some people pulling security, and the other people, they take care of whatever priorities they have, whether it is sleeping or eating or changing their socks, stuff like that. And when it was my turn to take care of what we call priorities of work, I got some rest because we got there around 1 in the morning, and within minutes, all we heard was the airplanes bombing the city, and that's kind of like what woke me up. And right after that, we started our mission. It was a battalion of us, and every company from the battalion had different objectives, and we started up to moving to our what we call objective rally point, if you want to call it. And as we were moving there, I was in Charlie Company. Our Bravo Company was the first company that got into contact with the enemy, and there was a lot of shooting, a lot of smoke going up in the air, a lot of explosions. And I was 19 years old. Our sergeant major was with us, and as soon as I saw that, my heart just started beating really hard, and I was very, very scared. Like, wow, it was crazy. And our sergeant major, Command Sergeant Major Flowers, he looked at us. I remember he was to my left, and I was just looking at all of the black smoke going into the air, hearing all of the explosions and bullets. And he looked at us, and he just like yelled really loud, "Let's go to the fight, baby!" And like I remember looking at him, and I was just like, "Oh my God, this guy is crazy." No, I don't want to go.
Right?
I did not want to go that way.
I don't want to die. Yeah.
And then we got to where the fight was, and there was just all sorts of stuff going on, bullets flying everywhere. I was 19 years old, very young in my opinion, very scared.
Oh yeah.
But I had a little brothers with me that kind of like kept me pushing. And I made it. But there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of shooting. The main thing that I remember about the firefights is that we're fighting for about 5 hours, and we're tired. We've been walking the whole night. We were getting shot at, and they told us pretty much to break contact, which means kind of like, move from there to another place. It's not quite retreat. It's just like, let's regroup. Let's move back, regroup, and then find a better way to complete our mission, which back then was securing 2 bridges for the 3rd Infantry Division to keep pushing towards Baghdad. The main thing I remember is after they told us to break contact is that we were very tired. We're getting shot at from everywhere. And I was walking or running with my squad, and the guy in front of me falls. And the main thing that I think is that he just got shot. So I'm next. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to die here. So I just switched my selector level from my weapon from safe to burst, which is, every time that you squeeze the trigger, it shoots 3 rounds. And I wasn't even aiming. I just wanted them to kind of like not kill me. So I just started shooting. I wasn't even looking at what I was shooting. And we kept walking. The guy got up. So I just said, okay, in my mind, thanks God, everything is that he didn't get shot. And in front of me, I want to say about 300 meters in front of me, I just see all of these dust going up in the air. And then all of a sudden, about 5 Bradleys, which are like the small tanks, just pop out. and it was like seeing an angel. You're just like, oh, just imagine a tank with like
Right,
rings
right.
and a halo. And that's what I saw there. I was just like, oh my God, thanks God, thanks God. And they saw us, so they speed up and kind of like get us covered.
Wow.
And some of them, as soon as they get us covered, they just started turning their cannons towards where we were getting shot at. And then they just started shooting at while we were kind of like breaking contact. And the Bradleys, which are those small tanks,
Mhm.
are my favorite military
Oh my
weapons.
God. What a
Or-
crazy thing to have had happen to somebody. How did you like get through it? I mean, were there people that you could look up to? Were there people around you, or were you kind of the person that had to kind of keep it together because other people weren't keeping it together?
No, so I had team lead. You know, I was like at the very bottom. I was
Sure.
just the rank in the army, private
Mhm.
PV2, I think it was. And so I had team leaders, squad leaders, platoon sergeants, all sorts of leaders, and they just kept pushing us. And yes, I did have many people that I looked up to, and thanks to them, I'm pretty sure that's why I made it through that battle and
Right.
through all of the deployments that I have so far.
And so you've done 4 after that. How
4 more.
4
yes.
more.
Mhm.
So you must have been this like constant out for deployment back, out for deployment back. Wow. What was it when they were all in Iraq, correct?
Most of them, so 4 of them were in Iraq, and then the very last one was in Afghanistan.
Wow. What were some of the differences that you saw between serving in Iraq and Afghanistan?
Well, it's a different enemy. So like Iraq was more urban, so there was a lot more fighting in cities.
Mhm.
While in Afghanistan, it was more, I guess, rural, if you want to call it. Just desert, far distant fighting.
Mhm.
So it was very different. It was, like yes, it's still in the Middle East, but it was like 2 different combat areas.
Did the pace of the combat change over that time? I mean, we're probably talking about a 5-10 year span of time from the first war to when you left Afghanistan. Did the pace of combat change over those years?
From like the first deployment to
Mhm.
the first 4 were kind of fast because we redeployed, and I think so back to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then in 6 months we got deployed again, and then we came back a couple of months, and then deploy again. There was a break in between OIF 3, the Operation Iraqi Freedom I deployment, and the Operation Iraqi Freedom V. So we were able to get a break there. And then for the Afghanistan deployment, I did had a break in the sense of I went to be a drill sergeant,
Mhm.
then got assigned again to 82nd, to a different brigade. And then I want to say within 7 months, we deployed to Afghanistan.
Wow. What would you say was your biggest takeaway from all that time in combat? Like, if you could say, like, what was it that you came away with that you didn't have before you had that type of experience?
Well, that's a hard question because there are many things, but like in general, I think I was able to appreciate little things in life more because you see how people there live. You kind of get in their position too. All of this war and the civilian population there are kind of like caught up in the middle. We made mistakes sometimes. They, in the sense of have accidents as it relates to civilian, and they obviously have to deal with the actual enemy there. In Afghanistan, the Taliban, and in Iraq, the Jaish Ahmadi back then was one of the bad enemy.
Actors.
Yeah, so it was. There are many things, but if I want to, if you're asking like the biggest thing for me, the biggest takeaway is that we need to appreciate what we have, all of the freedom that we have here in America.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that's missed on a lot of people. And U.S. Gillibar retired. I'll put him up here. U.S. Air Force. He just says hello from Kylene, Texas.
Hello.
Hello. So you're pretty much doing back-to-back deployments and not really getting a lot of time at home, but you also started a family during this time too, right?
I did. I started a family right before my last deployment, and that was the deployment to Afghanistan or Operation Enduring Freedom. And I had my son there, Bryson. And obviously I got to meet my wife Felicia through Operation Iraqi Freedom I. We started chatting to MySpace back then.
MySpace.
Makes me.
I wonder if you guys remember MySpace. Yes.
Yeah, it makes me feel kind of old. That I was using MySpace.
I was using MySpace, but I used MySpace too, so I'm saying my age as well.
Yeah, so we started talking. Then we agreed that because she's from North Carolina, when I get back to North Carolina, let's hang out. Let's see how things go, because we got along very well virtually, and ended up working out. We got married. We decided to have our son back then, and then I got deployed again. And I have to tell you something. My respect to people that have more deployments that I have as a married man or woman, service member, leaving a family behind, because it was tough. It was tough leaving my family behind. On the other deployments, I was single, so it was kind of like, whatever. There's nothing waiting for me back home, and if something happens, I didn't really have a wife or kid. So it was it's way different at the point as a married service member.
Yeah, the game totally changes, and it's one of the reasons why I'm such a huge proponent for military spouses and being able to have portable jobs and making sure that they're not unfairly discriminated against in the workplace because they're spouses, because it's tough. It's tough to raise kids at home by yourself, and not everybody has the benefit of the family support or anything like that. So it can be a tough thing to do. But so your wife stayed back during your last deployment, and then what happened after that last deployment? Where did you go next?
So I ended up going back to Fort Bragg and just for regular, duty there at Fort Bragg. And I stayed there for about 6 more months after that deployment. And then I was assigned to the Security Cooperation Office in El Salvador. So this is actually my,
I didn't know this was your second.
This is my second.
This is your second try at the same office.
It is.
Of all kind of just wow.
I am a second offender here. Yes, I am. And it's funny because I'm going to tell you how I got my second time here, and it was kind of like funny. But so I get the assignment to El Salvador, and it was kind of like my branch manager just assigned me to El Salvador. And when I'm looking at my assignment satisfaction key or ask, and just El Salvador, like, what am I going to do there? Like,
right.
I didn't even know that we have military in El Salvador. So the admin NCO here in at the Security Cooperation Office back then ended up reaching out to me, and he kind of explained me, okay, yeah, you're going to work at an embassy as an ops NCO. Then later on, I got assigned to the Army Research Lab. And then when my time was up there, I called the branch manager and asked, hey, what do you have for me? And the branch manager was just like, well, we got this assignment to be an ROTC instructor in Puerto Rico. So I was like, yes, absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Yes. And I told my wife, she was very excited too. And then the branch manager, and I'm sorry, I kind of found out about the assignment to Puerto Rico through Facebook because I was following the branch manager website. So then I called to volunteer for that specific assignment. And when I called the branch manager, he told me, well, can't really take your family because Puerto Rico was severely damaged by there was a hurricane. I want to say, let me see if I remember the name. I don't remember the exact name right now, but the last hurricane that ended up like devastating Puerto Rico. So the branch manager told me, no, well, you can go there, but you are going to have to go without your family. So, I just, yeah, no, thank you.
No.
What else is open?
Mm-hmm.
So the branch manager told me, well, we got this assignment at in El Salvador, but it's very dangerous out there, and I don't recommend you take your family. And I was a little confused because I thought you were looking at my record, like I literally just came from there. And my wife and I, after we left El Salvador the first time, we always talk among each other, and we're just like, well, I wish we would have done this. I wish we would have gone seeing this place in El Salvador.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when the branch manager gave me the choice again,
mm-hmm.
I called my wife because I have to ask permission, or else I'll have to sleep on the couch.
Yes.
And she told me, yes, let's do it. So I just like, yeah, let's do it. And we're here.
That's how you're here. We got another comment. James Abita, he's very kind to me on LinkedIn. He says, thank you for your service. Yes, we should appreciate we have, even the little things. I agree. Absolutely. Agree, James. So that's such a cool opportunity. And I will tell you guys, like, it is gorgeous here. Now, I agree that there's issues here. There's parts of this place that are not safe. I'm not going to say it's all perfect, but this is a gorgeous country with very, very kind, hardworking people. And going around with this guy here is really teaching me that because he speaks the language, which I don't. And there's just something about the way that you interact with people that they know that you're an honest and a straight shooter. They know that you're not BSing them because a lot of these people want a lot. And, that we go out, we donate, but then it's like, oh, I want this and I want this and I want that. And it can be tough because there's only so much money to go around, and you have to strategically decide where to apply that money. And so it's a delicate balance to maintain those relationships and that rapport, and then always know, like, you're not going to be able to help everybody. There's so much need here. And oh my gosh, we just met with a woman at lunch for an example.
Yesterday.
Oh man, she just started going into why she's no longer with her family, and it's because her and her husband split up because her husband was cheating on her, and went to Canada and decided to take the kids to Canada because they could have a better life. And now she's still here, and she's just crying as she's describing this. And then he's having to translate this whole story.
And, all good.
But you could just see she was just getting emotional, and then she started crying, and it was just sad. And that's why when I left, I said, it must be hard to just hold the weight of all these people's trauma and their needs. And speaking of trauma, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here was when you shared in the car up to La Union about your battle with PTSD. And so I know that you decided to get help for that in 2017.
Yes.
And what was it that made you decide to do that?
So when I was assigned to the Security Cooperation Office in El Salvador the first time,
Number one.
During the first year, there's many reasons. So let me give you first, going back to the Afghanistan deployment. While I was in Afghanistan and I used to call home, my wife used to ask me, hey, what's wrong with you? Like, I noticed you're just not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what she was talking about. To me, I was fine. I didn't have any issues. And it was like, I remember she used to ask me that pretty frequently. And I might have been like down a little sometimes, some of the times that I called her, but I didn't know there was anything wrong with me. Not wrong. I didn't know that I needed to seek help, so mental help. Came back to the United States, North Carolina, back to Fort Bragg. And it was the same thing. Like, my wife noticed I was just not the same. Again, for me, I was fine. Right before we left North Carolina, or I left North Carolina to come to El Salvador, I did start to feel very depressed. And there was some times where I used to like, my wife and I were sleeping, and I just woke up, and it was like really sudden, and my heart was beating really hard, and like I didn't even realize if I had a bad dream or anything like that. Like I used to just get up and kind of like very scared, very, my heart beating. And then I went to El Salvador, and the first year I was by myself because my wife, I think, she was finishing her master's degree, and she was also pregnant with our first daughter, Liliana, and so I came here by myself, and all of that loneliness, like going after work and going home, I just started feeling very depressing. I didn't know how. It was an easy job, but for some reason, being at home by myself,
Time to think.
I guess, made me very depressed.
Because you're with yourself. There's no distractions. There's nothing to keep you so busy that you don't have to think about it. Because you can stuff those feelings down, but then when you're alone, that's when you're with yourself.
Yeah, and I was missing my family very much, and there was many times where I don't know where I just started crying, and that was like a couple of months before they joined me. Then after my wife came to El Salvador, we had a couple of issues and got into arguments that weren't really like yelling or stuff like that, just arguments. And I really got down, and I felt like a lot of emotional pain. And it was, the fightings weren't really, uh, they kind of didn't feel just justifiable for the way I was feeling.
Right.
And there was in about 3 occasions, I felt like, hey, I'm having too much emotional pain. Maybe I should just stop it. In the sense of, I was thinking about suicide. Uh, and, it was just like so much emotional pain, and I couldn't control it. And I want to say my wife went back to the state to visit her family or something. When I was lonely, I remember one of the times it really got me. I felt very depressed, so much emotional pain, and I wanted to find a quick way to stop it. Uh, so I thought about suicide. At the time, I didn't have a quick way to do it. I was already in pain. I didn't want to feel now physical pain. Uh, so I wanted to find a quick way to do it. Just end it. No more pain. I cried. I guess the crying helped to release some of that emotional pain. And then I talked myself out of doing something uh, that I would have put my family through a lot of suffering. Like maybe back then I thought it was the solution, but now that I have a clear, more calm mind, have more know how to manage depression more, and have seek professional help. It was if I would have done it,
Wow.
it would have been a bad decision. Then we got assigned to Fort Benning, Georgia. My wife kept telling me the same thing, like, "Hey, you are not the same. Maybe you should think about going to talk to an expert." Um, while I was at Fort Benning, I got very depressed again, and I knew I had depression. It was after the couple of times where I thought about suicide. Um, I knew that that I had some type of depression.
Right.
So I decided after my wife convinced me to go and talk to the mental health at Fort Benning, and ended up talking to the nurse. While I was talking to the nurse, I just started like crying in front of her. I remember she had me some tissues, and I just felt like I was just kind of like letting loose. Like, I'm finally here. I want you guys to help. Please help me. That's what that crime was saying, in my opinion. Now that I think about it, I finally got to talk to the psychologist that very first day after I spoke to the nurse, and the psychologist did an evaluation. I remember his name. He was Dr. Funkhauser, and he told me, "Hey, I really do think that you have some mental disorders that I'm for sure that we can help you. So I want you to come see me weekly, and we're gonna get you right." And I can tell you that it was the best decision I made in my life. After our first appointment, just talking to a professional expert, in the psychological field, uh, it made a big difference. Like
It was finally like, I'm not alone. I don't have to deal with this by myself anymore. I've got someone who is trained and knows how to handle emotions
absolutely
in a healthy way to talk to. Wow. Thank God that you got like good people like in your first visit too, because I think sometimes when people seek treatment or counseling, they get a bad therapist and then they give up on the experience, and you can't do that. You just have to keep trying to get just the right people. So
absolutely.
it's good that you found people that could identify immediately what was wrong and talk you through it. What do you think? What was it? Was it just because you were able to bounce, and even the talking part, being able to just kind of bounce things off of them sometimes and to talk through things?
Absolutely, because my wife supported me, but because in the infantry we get trained, we grow in the infantry, or it doesn't have to be in the infantry, but I'm just saying, like, infantry is one of the most notorious MOS where, like, going to seek help, whether it is going to sick call because you have
There's something wrong with you physically.
There is the stigma that you get put on if you just go to sick call because something hurts.
Right.
It's pretty bad. So for us, going to sick call, going to seek medical help is a sign of weakness.
And in your culture,
it is. Yes, that's true. That's true too.
You had that going against you as well. You had to kind of undo a lot of cultural, brainwashing that this is a sign of weakness, when seeking help and knowing where to seek help is actually a sign of strength, because you can just drown by yourself, but seeking a lifeline to help yourself is actually a sign that you're strong enough to understand when you need others to kind of step in and help. It really is. It's a sign of strength.
Yeah, it is. And taking that big step of going to talk to a mental professional, provider, whatever you want to call it, it's a hard step. It was a very hard step. I want to say it took me like 4 years to take that initial step of, hey, let me go get help. And it took my wife to convince me. It took some willpower from myself too. And that very first time that I went there, and going back to your question, just being able just to talk, to be honest, just to talk very openly on, hey, this is the way I'm feeling. What do you think? Can you help me? Do I have a problem? That was big help. Just find out, yes, you do need help. Let me help you. Let's help you. So just that right there.
I mean, I see it as no different of having a friend. If you have a friend who you can bounce an idea off of, but friends get busy and they have other things going on, and sometimes it's hard to burden them sometimes, or feeling like you're burdening them with a very deep issue. So I think it's an amazing resource that everyone should use, and whether that be a therapist, a career coach, whatever it is, it's no different than hiring a personal trainer or going to a workout class. It's just something to do to help yourself, and it helps everyone around you too, because when you get the help that you need, you're just so much more at peace and you're just so much happier.
Yes, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And, when you asked me to do this interview, first I was hesitant, but like the primary mission why I felt that I needed to do is because a lot of my friends have committed suicide. I can count right now on top of my head at least 6 of them have committed suicide. People that I deployed with, that I was, they might not have been directly under me, as their leader, but some of them were young, some of them were more seniors, and I wish if I would have known that they have those issues, because most of the times you can even tell. I don't know if you were able to tell before I told you, hey, yeah, I do have, so you can't really tell who needs help or not. And 6 of my friends did commit suicide, and I wish I would have known and talked to them and tell them about my experience.
Right. And that's why we need to talk about these things.
Absolutely.
And openly, and to the camera and to everyone out there, that this is something that is so important, and to take care of yourself, because you share, and that's a great point. You sharing your story, even if you don't know that they're suffering and that they are thinking about killing themselves, or they're just so depressed, you being open about it and saying, I was depressed once and I sought treatment. Then they go, oh shoot, this guy can do it, and he's strong, and he's tough, and he was a drill instructor, and he served in combat. I can too,
Absolutely. And when I went, I thought I only thought that I was depressed. Later on, I want to say after the appointment number 6, I want to say that's when I asked the Dr. Funkhauser straight up, hey, so what do you think? What do I have? And he was like, yeah, you are very depressed, or you have a very depression, or I don't know what would be the medical terminology, but very depressed. Your depression is bad, but you also have chronic PTSD. So whenever he told me that I had PTSD, I was kind of like, no, I don't have PTSD. Like, what are you talking about? Serious? I do? And he was just like, yeah. And then he explained me, this is why I think you have PTSD. And yeah, let's put you on med. They prescribed a medicine called Effexor. Great medicine. Oh yeah, it made a big difference in my life. Just getting put on those meth, so not only help going to talk to them about
getting on the medication,
but getting on the medication was like even better, So,
yeah, I know people who struggled with depression, and they say that, getting the medication and the therapy is what really gets them through it. And I think it's amazing that they do that. So we've got a couple comments. So James says, I have 2 Vietnam veteran friends who, for some reason, through many trials and tribulations, they were diagnosed with PTSD. 45 years later, I'm happy. I'm happy late now they have the answers. Oh, I'm happy that even this late they have the answers and are on the road to heal. Thank you for sharing your experience. And then my husband's best friend, Brian, he says, glad there are resources to help you and find someone to talk to. And he says, personal testimony reflection often helps people more than someone who hasn't gone through what you have. And it's true. That's really why I'm putting together this podcast, is because I think that by sharing our stories and our experiences, people know that they're not alone, and that other people have those same experiences. And sometimes when we go through our day-to-day and we just get caught up in our work, a lot of times we don't take the time to talk about things like this that really do matter. And so I want to thank you so much for taking the opportunity to do this with me and have this really important and very serious conversation. To shift gears a little, I want to talk a little bit more too about what the future holds for you, and what comes ahead after you leave and stop being the guru hat manager and you move on in your career. What's next?
So as of right now, I'm getting ready to hit 20 years in the Army on January 31st. So my wife and I, or my family and I, are planning on retiring. It's been fun. I have a lot of things to be thankful for joining the service.
Sure.
Have met so many great people, and have done stuff that I never thought I would have done.
Right.
as it relates to challenging. Like, for example, jumping out of an airplane. Like,
Yeah.
in
How
the
many
mi-
people do that? Barely any.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
cool.
So as of right now, we're planning on retiring and going back to. We're going back to Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is nearby Fort Bragg, but because we have a house there, and that's going to be like kind of like our temporary stuff.
Sure.
But from there, we're going to we're planning on going to Greensboro, North Carolina, which is about 2.5 hours away from there. And my wife is getting ready to finish her Ptsd in research psychology. I just finished a master's, so I'm hoping to get a job with the government in the acquisition field.
Wow. No, that's awesome. And I think the experiences that you're having dealing with contracts overseas, you've learned a lot.
I hope it helps in the civilian life. So yeah, that's the plan right now. The primary thing that I want to do whenever I retire is spend a lot more time with my family. Like, I have a very good job right now. I'm not deploying and all of that, doing all of the Army stuff, but I'm planning on spending more time with my family. My kids are growing. I don't want to miss out on their childhood.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll move on to bigger and better things outside of the military service.
Well, I feel like, as someone said to me one day, the world is your oyster, Teresa. And I didn't think about it like that at the time, but I feel like you're destined for great things in or out of I almost said Navy, in or out of the Army. So I look forward to seeing where you guys end up and how things turn out. Was there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have, or anything that you want to add?
I just wanted to add, just because of how many friends I had that have committed suicide, it's way more than what I wanted to. I just wanted to say, if you are going through the same issues that I went through, if you even have this slightly doubt on, do I have a psychological disorder or not? Do you want to, are you thinking about committing suicide? There's a lot of help out there. The military has gone out of their way to make sure that those of us that are going through through those issues have the help that they need to know how to manage it, to not feel depressed anymore, or you get the point.
How to manage it.
Yes.
We're all going to get depressed, but how to process your emotions in a healthy way.
Exactly. There's a lot of help out there. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Your family needs you. We need you. Please, please, please seek help.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rap. I really enjoyed talking to you. And thank you so much for all of you who are watching and who may watch this later. This has been an amazing episode. Wasn't expecting to do this one as my 4th episode, but I knew I had to take the opportunity, and I knew it was going to be a very important conversation. So thank you so much. My next guest next week is going to be Matt Fitzgerald. He is a scholarly writer, an Army JAG, and so many other things. We're going to be talking a lot about the future of work, and also about some of the ethics regarding our influencers in the military. So more of a career talk, but he's also done a lot to give back and to drive hopefully some much needed policy changes for DoD. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.
Thank you.